The huge silver station floated above the blue-white planet called Harmony's World. Its name was Harmony's Apex. Inside, thousands of aliens from many different species met every day. They called themselves the Galactic Council. For thousands of years, they made the rules for the whole galaxy. No one argued with them. No one dared. Then humans arrived. Humans were new. They had only left their small blue planet for about 100 years. Their ships were fast, but rough. Their cities on other worlds looked strange, full of bright lights, loud music, and too many people. The old species watched them with narrow eyes. They whispered that humans were loud, greedy, and dangerous. They said humans acted like children who found weapons too soon. The council decided it was time to teach humans their place. On a bright morning in the station's main chamber, the meeting started like always. Tall crystal walls glowed softly. Hundreds of seats rose in circles around a central platform. Every important species had a delegate there. The insect-like HFY War sat highest of all. He was the High Arbiter. His black shell shone under the lights. His many eyes never blinked. Everyone feared him. Today's topic was Earth. Ambassador Elena Voss walked into the chamber alone. She was a human woman of 45 years. Short black hair, simple gray suit. No jewels, no guards. She carried only a small data tablet. Her face showed nothing. She stepped onto the platform and waited. HFY War's voice came through the translators. It sounded like dry leaves scraping metal. "Humans of Earth," he began. "Your kind has broken too many rules. You take too many resources. You build too fast in neutral zones. You spread like insects on rotting fruit." The chamber made soft laughing sounds. Some delegates tapped their claws. Others clicked their mandibles. Elena stood very still. The High Arbiter continued. "We have voted. From this day, Earth faces full sanctions. No new colonies. No new trade deals. Your ships will be searched at every gate. Your people will pay high taxes on every crystal, every metal, every breath of air you take outside your system." More laughter rolled through the seats. Elena raised her hand slowly. The gesture was calm. "May I speak?" she asked in clear high dialect. Her voice did not shake. HFY War tilted his head. "Speak, ape child. Let the council hear your excuses." She looked straight at him. "The sanctions are unfair. Earth has followed every signed treaty. We shared our medical discoveries freely. We helped rebuild 3 worlds after the Red Nebula War. We asked only for equal voice in this council." The Arbiter made a sharp hiss. "Equal voice? You are not equal. Your brains are small. Your emotions rule you. You fight each other, even now on your own world. You are not ready for the stars." The laughter grew louder. Elena's face stayed calm. "We are ready. We have earned our place." HFY War stood. His shadow fell over her. "Earned? You crawled out of mud only yesterday. You think speed makes you wise? No, it makes you dangerous." He waved one long limb. 4 security drones rose from the floor. They were smooth black machines with red eyes. They floated toward Elena. "You will leave now," the Arbiter said. "And you will tell your people, the galaxy has spoken." The drones moved closer. One reached out a metal arm to grab her shoulder. Elena stepped back 1 step. She looked up at HFY War. Her eyes were steady. "You will remember this," she said. 4 simple words. Then she turned. She walked past the drones. They followed but did not touch her. She left the chamber on her own feet. Behind her, the laughter exploded again. It filled the crystal walls. It echoed down every corridor. The session was broadcast live to every council world. Billions watched. They saw the small human woman leave in silence. They saw the mighty Arbiter raise his arms in victory. They laughed with him. On Earth, People watched too. In the city of New Beijing, crowds stood in public squares. They stared at giant screens. When the drones moved toward their ambassador, many clenched their fists. When Elena spoke those 4 words, a few smiled thin, cold smiles. In the underground command center beneath the Ural Mountains, generals sat in a dark room. Screens showed the same scene. One general, old and scarred, pressed a button. A red file opened. The words on it read, "Final Reckoning, Phase 1." No one spoke. They only watched Elena walk away. Far away, on a mining station in the asteroid belt, workers paused their drills. They looked at small screens on their helmets. One young man whispered, "They just made the biggest mistake in history." On the colony world of New Shanghai, children playing in the park stopped. Parents pulled them close. Everyone felt the same cold feeling in their stomachs. Something big was coming. Back on Harmony's apex, the laughter slowly died. Delegates returned to their private rooms. They drank strong liquids. They told each other the human problem was solved. They said the sanctions would keep Earth weak for centuries. HFY War stayed in the empty chamber for a long time. He stared at the spot where Elena had stood. Something in her eyes bothered him. Not fear, not anger. Something else. Something patient. He shook his head. "Primitives," he muttered. "They always break so easily." He turned and left. The lights in the chamber dimmed. The station spun slowly in silence. On Earth, the lights did not dim. In hidden shipyards deep in the dark between stars, machines began to wake. Blue welding sparks flashed in the shadows. Huge metal shapes grew hour by hour. Engines tested their power with low, hungry roars. In quiet rooms, men and women sat at tables. They drew lines on maps of the galaxy. They counted ships. They counted days. They counted lives. No one shouted. No one cried for revenge yet. They only worked. Ambassador Elena Voss returned to her small shuttle. She sat in the pilot's chair. She looked at the stars outside the window for a long time. Then she pressed the send button. A single encrypted message flew toward Earth. It contained only 4 words. "You will remember this." The message arrived in silence, and somewhere in the heart of humanity, something old and brutal opened its eyes. For 6 long months, after Ambassador Elena Voss left the council chamber, Earth looked quiet. Too quiet. Trade ships from human worlds stopped coming to council ports. The big cargo haulers that once filled the docking rings with noise and lights now stayed away. Small merchant vessels still came, but they carried only the minimum goods needed to keep the sanctions from looking like a total blockade. Human diplomats appeared at meetings, smiled politely, and said very little. They signed papers when asked. They paid the high taxes without complaint. They even sent thank you messages to the council clerks. The aliens noticed. They smiled among themselves in the shining corridors of Harmony's apex. "See," they said, "the apes have learned their lesson. A little pressure, and they fold like wet paper." High Arbiter HFY War felt proud. He walked taller. His black shell gleamed brighter under the lights. He told the other delegates that humanity was broken. "They will stay small now," he said. "We have caged the beast." But the truth was hidden far from their eyes. Deep in the dark spaces between stars, where no council scout ever looked, humanity worked. In the Kuiper Belt, far beyond Pluto, hidden shipyards woke up. These were not small factories. They were huge rings of metal and stone, carved inside hollow asteroids. Machines that had slept for decades started moving again. Robotic arms swung. Blue plasma torches cut steel. Giant printers layered hulls, thicker than castle walls. Day after day, night after night, new warships grew. The ships were not pretty. They had no bright paint or fancy curves. They were black and gray, shaped like knives. Long noses for ramming through shields. thick armor that could take hits from plasma cannons, engines that burned hotter than any council engine dared, and weapons, many weapons, railguns that threw metal slugs at speeds close to light, missile bays packed so tight they looked ready to burst, drone launchers that could fill space with thousands of tiny killers in seconds. The workers who built them were not soldiers in uniform. They were engineers, miners, welders, programmers, ordinary people who had trained in secret for years. They ate quick meals in zero-gravity canteens. They slept in narrow bunks. They talked little about home. They only worked faster. In the Oort cloud, even farther out, more yards opened. Ice comets were hollowed out and turned into bases. Solar sails caught weak starlight to power the forges. Self-replicating drones, small spider-like machines, crawled over unfinished hulls. They ate scrap metal and grew new parts from it. One drone became 10. 10 became 100. The swarm built faster than any living crew could. Older ships thought long dead came back to life. The heavy cruiser, Thunderchild, retired 30 years ago, was pulled from a graveyard orbit around Neptune. Her engines were replaced. Her guns were upgraded. Her computers got new brains that thought in ways no alien AI could match. Crews boarded her quietly. They ran tests in deep space where no one could see the bright flashes. Jump drives were the biggest secret. Council rules said all jump drives must have safety limits. No jumps too close to gravity wells. No jumps faster than a certain speed. Humans ignored those rules long ago. Their drives could skip through space like stones on water. They could drop ships right on top of an enemy station before alarms even sounded. No one outside Earth knew about these things. Council spies tried to watch Saul. They sent probes. The probes saw nothing unusual. Just quiet traffic. Just normal lights on the night side of Earth. The spies reported back. Humanity is complying. But the spies never saw the dark side shipyards. They never saw the freighters that left loaded with ore and returned empty. Because the ore had been turned into guns and armor far away. They never saw the encrypted messages that flew between hidden bases. Messages that said only numbers and codes. Numbers that meant ships finished. Codes that meant targets chosen. On Earth itself, life looked normal. People went to work. Children went to school. Shops stayed open. But under the surface, things moved. In hidden bunkers, generals met. They looked at maps of the galaxy. Red dots marked council worlds. Green lines showed paths for attack. Blue circles showed where human ships would wait. They spoke in low voices. They planned every step. They knew exactly how many days it would take for a railgun slug to cross light years and hit a target. They knew how many drones one factory could make in a week. In cities, ordinary people felt the change. Not with words, but with small signs. Neighbors who once talked about sports now spoke quietly about readiness. Families kept extra food in storage. Young men and women disappeared for training camps and came back harder, quieter. On New Shanghai, the colony world closest to Council space, people rebuilt the spaceport that had been damaged years before. They made it stronger. They added hidden missile silos under the landing pads. They trained militia units in the forests. Children learned emergency drills that included what to do if the sky fills with enemy ships. No one panicked. No one marched in streets shouting for war. They simply prepared. Like people who know a storm is coming and board up windows before the first drop falls. The Council sent more patrols. Battle cruisers appeared near human colonies. They watched. They found nothing. The human ships that passed them were small traders. The colonies looked peaceful. The patrols reported back. All quiet. Xathvor laughed when he heard the reports. They are afraid, he told his aides. They hide in their hole and wait for the storm to pass. But in the dark, the storm was being built. One night, standard time on a small moon base far from any sun, a single human scout ship slipped out of its hiding place. It was tiny, almost invisible. Black hull, no lights. It jumped away in silence. It carried no weapons, only cameras and sensors. It flew toward Harmony's apex. It watched the station from far away. It recorded the patrols. It counted the defense platforms. It mapped every shield generator, every gun turret, every weak spot in the huge crystal walls. Then it jumped home. The data reached Earth in a tight beam. Generals looked at the new maps. They nodded. One more piece in place. 6 months passed. The council celebrated. They held banquets. They toasted the taming of the humans. They gave speeches about peace through strength. On Earth, no one celebrated. In a deep underground room, Admiral Marcus Hale stood before a wall of screens. He was tall, gray-haired, calm. He had fought in old wars no one remembered anymore. He looked at the screens that showed ship counts. Thousands now, ready. He spoke to the room. His voice was quiet. "Soon," he said. No one answered. They did not need to. Outside, the stars burned cold and patient, just like the people who watched them. New Shanghai was a bright jewel on the edge of human space. Green fields stretched under 2 gentle suns. Tall buildings of glass and steel rose in the capital city. Children laughed in parks. Markets sold fresh fruit from Earth and strange spices from distant moons. The people there worked hard, built families, and looked to the stars with hope. The council hated that hope. One standard morning, without any warning, council ships dropped out of jump space above the planet. 12 heavy cruisers and 20 support vessels formed a ring around New Shanghai. Their hulls were polished silver and gold, marked with the symbols of many old species. They did not ask permission. They did not send messages. They simply acted. The lead ship, the dreadnought Eternal Order, opened its launch bays. Dropships poured out like angry insects. They screamed through the thin clouds and landed hard on the main spaceport. Soldiers in heavy armor jumped out. They carried plasma rifles and shock batons. Their orders were clear. Make an example. The spaceport was busy that day. Freighters unloaded food and machines. Families waited for loved ones coming home. Workers repaired landing pads. No one expected trouble. The first shots came without words. A plasma bolt hit a fuel tank. It exploded in a bright orange ball. Screams filled the air. People ran. Council soldiers marched forward. They fired at anyone who moved too fast. Bodies fell on the concrete. Blood mixed with spilled oil. A young mother tried to shield her 2 small children behind a cargo crate. A soldier saw them. He raised his rifle. The mother screamed. The bolt hit her in the chest. She dropped. The children cried louder. Another soldier laughed through his helmet speaker. He aimed at the kids. A security guard, an old human veteran, pulled out a hidden pistol. He shot the soldier in the faceplate. The helmet cracked. The alien fell. But more soldiers came. They surrounded the guard. They beat him with batons until he stopped moving. Then they shot the crying children anyway. The destruction went on for hours. They burned warehouses full of grain. They smashed medical pods in the port clinic. They pulled down the tall flagpole that flew the simple blue and white flag of humanity. They stomped on it. They broadcast the images live to every council world. The caption read in bright letters, "Humanity learns respect." On the ground, survivors hid. Some fought back with whatever they could find: tools, pipes, broken glass. A few managed to kill soldiers before they died, but the council force was too strong. Too many. By sunset, the spaceport was black smoke and twisted metal. Over 800 people lay dead. Most were civilians. Many were children. The council ships stayed in orbit another day. They scanned the planet. They made sure no rescue ships came close. Then, they jumped away. They left the ruins behind as their message. The galaxy watched the footage again and again. Many aliens nodded in approval. Good, they said. The upstarts needed this lesson. Others looked away. They felt uneasy, but said nothing. No one spoke against the High Arbiter. No one dared. On Earth, the images arrived in the middle of the night. Screens in every home, every office, every street, lit up with the horror. People froze. Parents pulled their children close. Old soldiers clenched their jaws so hard their teeth hurt. In the underground command centers, the lights stayed red. No one spoke for a long time. Admiral Marcus Hale watched the feed in silence. His face showed nothing. When the last image faded, the burned flag under alien boots, he turned to his officers. "Confirm the count," he said quietly. 847, confirmed dead, one officer answered. 312 were under 16 years old. Hale nodded once. "Record it." He walked to a secure console. He entered a long code. A hidden panel opened. Inside was a single red button under thick glass. He did not press it yet. Instead, he sent one order to every hidden fleet, every secret yard, every waiting ship. "Stand by. Full readiness. No transmissions until my word." The orders spread like fire through dry grass. Ship crews woke from rest shifts. Engineers checked weapons one last time. Drone swarms powered up in their bays. Jump drives hummed with stored energy. Earth went silent. For the next 72 hours, no message left the Sol system. No ship moved in plain view. Diplomatic channels closed. The last human ambassador on Harmony's apex simply walked out of his office, locked the door, and vanished into the crowds. They found nothing. The aliens grew nervous. "What are they doing?" Kazathvor asked his aides. "Why no protests? No threats?" "They are afraid," one aide said. "They know they cannot fight us." Another aide looked unsure. "Or they are planning something." The High Arbiter hissed. "Let them plan. They are one small system against hundreds. They will break soon." But the silence grew heavier each hour. On the 73rd hour, every council monitoring station received the same message. It came from no known ship, no known antenna. It appeared on every screen at once, in every language the council used. The message was short. Payment due. Nothing else. No signature. No demands. Just those two words. Alarms sounded across Harmony's apex. Defense grids powered up. Patrols doubled. Ships moved to guard the core worlds. The High Arbiter called an emergency meeting. Delegates hurried to the chamber. They argued. Some laughed nervously. Most looked worried. On New Shanghai, survivors buried their dead. They worked in silence. No tears now. Only hard eyes. They rebuilt what they could. They hid weapons in the forests. They trained in secret. They waited. Far out in the black, human ships turned their noses toward council space. Engines glowed faint blue. Jump drives spooled up. Railguns loaded their first slugs, long spears of dense metal that had been flying in secret for months, already on perfect paths. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity did not shout. They did not beg. They did not warn. They simply counted down, and when the count reached 0, the stars would burn. The first strike came without sound or warning. Across 32 council core systems, at the exact same moment, long metal spears arrived. They had been launched months earlier from deep space. Moving at 99% the speed of light, they carried no engines now, no signals, no mercy. They simply hit. On the garden world of Thalor Prime, the High Arbiter's private palace stood on a crystal mountain. It was famous for its glowing towers and floating gardens. At 1 second past the hour, a single kinetic slug punched through the atmosphere. It traveled faster than any eye could follow. The palace vanished in a white flash. The mountain cracked open like an egg. Molten rock poured down the slopes. Millions of citizens in the capital below looked up just in time to see the sky burn white. Then the shockwave arrived. Buildings folded like paper. In less than a minute, the most beautiful city in the sector was gone. Similar scenes played out everywhere. The shipyards of Vexar 4 exploded when 3 slugs hit the main construction rings. Half-finished dreadnoughts tore apart. Their reactors went critical. The entire orbital ring became a cloud of glowing debris that rained fire on the planet below for days. The trade hub of Krellis Station, a giant wheel bigger than some moons, took 2 hits dead center. The wheel bent, then snapped. One half spun away into deep space. The other half collapsed inward. Thousands of ships docked there never had time to undock. They died in silence. No fleet announced itself. No battle cries filled the void. Just arrival. Just destruction. Then the swarms came. Self-replicating drones, small black spider-shaped machines, poured from hidden jump points. They had waited in dark orbits for months. On the forge world of Drakon, a council battleship tried to power its shields. Too late. The swarm landed on its hull like flies on meat. They cut through armor with acid jaws. They ate wiring. They turned the ship's own metal into more drones. In 20 minutes, the battleship was a skeleton. The drones moved on to the next target. Human special forces teams arrived in stealth pods, no bigger than escape craft. They slipped past every sensor. On the pleasure moon of Solara, 3 council senators slept in their luxury villa. At dawn, black-suited humans entered without a sound. Knives flashed once each. The senators died in their beds. On each body, a small recorder played 4 words in high dialect. For New Shanghai. The kills were clean, professional, no extra pain, just endings. The worst came last. 3 council worlds, Zorath, home of the insectoid ruling caste, Vol Prime, the financial heart, and the fortress world of Cardoon, received special attention. From far away, Caesar-class devices jumped in close. These were not bombs, they were planet crackers. Each one looked like a smooth black sphere the size of a small city block. They carried gravity implosion cores, technology humanity had kept secret for decades. On Zorath, the device appeared above the capital hive. It activated. The planet's core twisted. Continents folded inward. Mountains sank. Oceans boiled away in steam clouds that blocked the sun for weeks. Billions died in the first hour. The survivors on the dark side watched their world eat itself. Vol Prime cracked open like a nut. Its glittering financial towers fell into glowing cracks that spread across the surface. The wealth of centuries burned in magma. Cardoon fought back. Its orbital forts fired everything they had. The Caesar device ignored the shots. It burrowed into the crust, then it pulled. The planet folded in on itself. In the end, only a spinning ring of debris remained where a proud fortress world had stood. The council chamber on Harmony's apex became a tomb next. A single human stealth corvette, small, black, silent, slipped through the defense grid. Every sensor saw nothing. It docked at a service port normally used for garbage scows. No alarm sounded. The ship vented a colorless gas into the ventilation system. The gas was fast. It was quiet. It was final. Delegates sat in the great crystal chamber. They argued about what to do. Some shouted for more sanctions. Others whispered about retreat. And one by one, they coughed. Then they slumped. Compound eyes stared wide. Feathers drooped. Scales turned dull. Bodies fell across tables and seats. The High Arbiter Kazathvor stayed upright longest. He reached for his communicator. His claw froze halfway. He toppled forward. His face hit the polished floor with a soft crack. The chamber cameras kept running. The feed went live across the galaxy again. But this time, no laughter came. only silence. Then screams from worlds that still watched. Trillions saw the rows of dead aliens. They saw the empty seats. They saw the small human symbol, painted in red on the central platform. A simple open hand with 4 fingers raised. No message followed. No speech. Humanity did not need to explain. The strikes continued for days. Not wild, not random, surgical, precise. Every target had been chosen months before. Every death answered a wrong. Every ruin carried a price. Council fleets tried to fight back. They formed battle lines. They charged towards Sol. But human ships were already inside their formations. They appeared from nowhere. They fired once, then vanished. Railgun slugs punched through flagships. Missile swarms overwhelmed point defenses. Jump drives let human forces strike and leave before any reply came. Panic spread. Whole species fled their homeworlds. Ships clogged jump lanes. Stations shut down. Trade stopped. The galaxy that once ruled with calm arrogance now ran in fear. On Harmony's apex, emergency teams found the bodies. They wore masks. They moved slowly. They counted the dead. Over 400 high delegates, all gone in minutes. A single surviving clerk, a small feathered creature from a minor world, found the courage to send one last broadcast. His voice shook. We ask for terms. Please, stop. The message went out on every channel. For the first time in thousands of years, the Council begged. Far away, on Earth, Admiral Marcus Hale watched the feed in the underground command room. Screens showed fires across the stars. He looked at his officers. Enough for now, he said. He stood. He walked to a console. He opened a new channel. A camera focused on him. He spoke quietly, clearly, in perfect high dialect so every species could understand. You answered with contempt and murder. We gave you proportionality. You may keep your lives and your stars, provided you never again presume to judge who belongs among them. He paused. The old council is dead. If you want peace, you will come to us. You will ask to join whatever framework we build. Any attack on human worlds will bring total response. No negotiations. No mercy. The screen went black. The message repeated on loop across the galaxy. On ruined worlds, survivors listened in silence. They understood. Humanity had not come to conquer. They had come to collect. And the debt was paid in full. 72 standard days after the first kinetic slugs hit their targets, the galaxy looked different. Many stars still burned, but the light felt colder. Planets that once shone with city lights now showed dark patches where power grids had failed. Trade routes that carried goods for thousands of years stood empty. Jump lanes once busy with ships now echoed with silence. The old order was broken. What remained begged to survive. Small groups of surviving council delegates hid in deep bunkers on forgotten moons. They used emergency transmitters. Their voices cracked when they spoke. They sent message after message towards Sol. At first the messages asked for mercy. Then they begged. Finally, they offered anything. Resources, territory, even their own worlds, if humanity would stop. No answer came for many days. The silence hurt more than the strikes. Then, on the 73rd day, a single transmission arrived from Earth. It came from the top of Unity Tower in New Geneva. The tower had been rebuilt after old wars. Its glass walls caught the sun like a blade. Inside the main hall, only one man stood before the camera. Admiral Marcus Hale. Tall, gray hair cut short, face calm like stone. He wore no medals, no uniform decorations, just a plain black coat. Behind him, a huge window showed Earth turning slowly. Blue oceans, white clouds, a quiet world that had just shaken the stars. He looked straight into the lens. His voice carried no anger, no joy, only fact. 72 days ago, your forces murdered civilians on New Shanghai. You burned their homes. You killed their children. You laughed while the galaxy watched. We answered. We took what was owed. We stopped when the debt was paid. He paused. The camera stayed on his eyes. We asked for simple things once. A seat at your table. A voice equal to yours. Respect as equals. With drones that pushed our ambassador away. With soldiers who crushed our people. You thought we were weak because we waited. You were wrong. He raised one hand slowly, 4 fingers open. We do not want your empire. We do not want your worlds. We do not want to rule you, but we will never again let anyone decide our place in the stars. The image changed behind him. A simple map appeared. Red lines marked the old council borders. Blue circles showed human systems. A new line formed, a wide neutral zone that included every human colony and a buffer of empty space. This is the new reality, Hale continued. Human space is closed. No council ship enters without permission. No patrol crosses our lines. No sanctions touch our people. In return, we will not cross into your space. We will not strike again, unless you force us. He leaned forward slightly. If you want peace, you will come to us, not as rulers, not as judges, as equals who ask to join. You will petition the Terran Concord, the new framework we build. You will follow its rules. You will respect its members. Any act of aggression against any human world, colony, or ship will bring total response. No second chances. No talks. Only fire. The map faded. Earth filled the screen again. We are not monsters, Hale said quietly, but we protect our own. You forgot that. Never forget it again. The transmission ended. It repeated on every open channel. It played in every language the galaxy knew. Ships in deep space picked it up. Stations in hiding received it. Survivors on ruined worlds watched it on cracked screens. For the first time in history, the mighty council prepared to kneel. The first delegation arrived 3 weeks later. A small shuttle from the remnants of the insectoid worlds. 5 survivors, their shells dull from hunger and fear. They carried no weapons. They asked permission to land on Luna. Permission was granted. They met in a plain room under the lunar surface. No crystal halls, no high seats, just a table and chairs. On one side sat human diplomats and 2 admirals. On the other sat the aliens. The lead insectoid spoke first. His voice trembled through the translator. We come to ask, to join your Concord. We offer our remaining fleets for defense, our shipyards for your use, our knowledge of old routes. We ask only to live. The humans listened. They asked questions. They wrote notes. They gave no promises that day. More delegations followed, feathered ones from the rim worlds, scaled ones from the core, even a few from species that once mocked humanity the loudest. They waited in line at neutral stations. They filled out forms. They answered questions about their past actions. Some were turned away. Others were allowed to proceed. The Terran Concord grew slowly. It was not an empire. It had no emperor. It was a simple agreement. Mutual defense. Free trade inside borders. No slavery. No conquest. Equal voice for every member species. Humans held veto power only on matters of their own security. That was enough. Many old council worlds joined quickly. They needed food. They needed medicine. They needed protection from pirates who now roamed the empty lanes. Humanity sent aid ships, not as charity, as investment. In return, the worlds opened their archives, shared their science, helped rebuild what had been lost. Some species refused. They stayed outside. They rebuilt alone. Humanity did not attack them, but it watched them closely. Years passed. New Shanghai healed. The spaceport rose again, stronger, brighter. Memorial stones stood in the parks, names of the dead carved deep. Children played around them. They learned the story early. They knew why the stars stayed quiet now. On Harmony's apex, the old chamber was sealed. New delegates met in a smaller hall. They spoke of trade, of science, of peace. The crystal walls still stood, but the laughter was gone forever. Ambassador Elena Voss returned once. She walked the empty corridors. She stood where she had been humiliated years before. She looked at the spot where Kazath Vor fell. Then she left without a word. In the end, the galaxy learned one truth. Humanity did not need to conquer. They only needed to be left alone. When pushed too far, they pushed back harder. When insulted, they answered with silence first, then with fire. And when the fire died, they offered a hand. But the hand carried a warning. Never again. On quiet nights, old aliens told stories to their young. They spoke of the day the upstarts rose. They spoke of the brutal payback that shocked every world. They spoke of the small blue planet that waited patiently, then acted without mercy. And the young listened. They learned. They remembered. Humanity called it Tuesday. The galaxy called it the day everything changed.